All right, Bill Canady, we are live. Can you even believe it? How exciting is it to be with me today? Just to be honest.
I'm telling you, I laughed, I cried. It's like a Shakespearean opera who's experiencing a Greek tragedy all at the same time. The emotions I am having, whew, overwhelming.
That's exactly the right answer. Also, we got to start with a little intro music, as you know. Oh
Are we
yeah,
shaking?
yeah. We got to do a little of this. Here we go. Here comes the beat. Ready? Oh yeah. Woo! Oh,
This
Bill.
year, I'm asking for rhythm for Christmas. Clearly, just watching myself, and
You know what? I'll put together a compilation of all those before you that were much worse. Would that make you feel better?
this is not possible that they are worse. But I'll take it.
Listen, man. I'm so excited to have you with us today, folks. If you're joining us for the first time, I'm Cesar Cervantes. I'm the founder of Top Talks, where we help folks land and deliver TEDx talks and keynote speeches that change the world and their business. And so today we're here with Bill. His TEDx talk came out recently. He went through our program and was just a phenomenal success. He's got over 200,000 views on his talk. He's the CEO of the 80/20 Institute. He's got a couple of books out. He's got one national bestseller, From Panic to Profit. He's doing book signings at Barnes and Noble. He's global, baby. And he's here with us today, Bill Canady.
Woo! That
Amazing.
and $7 will get you a cup of Starbucks. So.
Well, Bill, I've actually had the pleasure of reading your book and just learning from you and your TEDx talk. Oh, look, stop it. Oh, stop it. You've
How do
got
I
my
make this
book.
thing shine? Sign up in here. Oh, there you go. I put it on my face.
Oh, well, if we're in the sharing mood. Okay.
It would have been way better if you'd have held up mine. I'm just saying.
Listen, I only have what's in arm's length of me, but I'll
Well, I
plan
mean,
better
yours was
next.
during Iron League. This thing is never more than just a couple of feet away from me. It's awkward certain times at night, but otherwise, I find it comfortable. I just,
Well, it's just that your book weighs 5 pounds. It's
oh
massive,
yeah.
you know. It's harder for me to carry that. But well, listen, man, I again just have been learning a ton from you, and you've got this real business savvy that I envy, I covet.
Hmm.
And your takeaway in your TEDx talk, mission over values, super powerful for me. But I want today to just kind of start with your journey, why TED, like what was that like for you? And then would love to kind of launch into your takeaways now that you're doing more speaking, you've got these books, your TED Talk is out, and you can then show us how we can use your amazing business sense to then apply it to what we're doing in our own speaking.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah. So how was that intro? Anything else you want to share with folks that are listening?
No, I mean, I think you covered it all. It's just blessed to be here. Happy to be part of it, and really looking forward to an exciting exchange. So here we go.
Love it. Well, when we met, you were, you had another book that was coming out, right? This was From Panic to Profit, and we talked about, how to bring this idea of yours to life for the talk. What was it that attracted you to do to the TEDx talk?
So that's a really interesting question. And as I went through my journey, I think I found there's multiple types of people who look at, but I think there's two types of people. So one is someone who has this mission on their life, and TED is an extraordinary platform to spread this. Not at all of everything that we talk about. They have a value inside of them, and TED is an extraordinary platform to come share that value, let the world in on it. The second type, equally as important, in some ways, I think is even more important, are those of us who are on this mission in life, this mission of where we're trying to get our message out there. And that was really the heart of my talk. And TED allows us to start stacking up things that give not only ourselves more credibility, but gives weight to it and puts it on a global platform. And there's very few things that you can do that you can say, I participated in this, and people know exactly what it is, and it brings an inherent credibility with it. So for me, that was really important. It gave me a platform to talk about what my mission was, and created credibility that made it a little bit more impactful.
Yeah, I think you're 100% correct, right? There are very few things where you can sort of speak it and people know immediately the form and that carries credibility and weight. Another one might be I went to Harvard, but I think, TED Talk's right up there, right?
I think
And
it might be slightly ahead if you read the newspapers these days, but no, you're exactly right. So it's funny. I give this advice to my kids, and I do all these things, and I'm like, there's certain things you want to do that gold plate your resume. When you say you went and did that, if people like, it's a meaningful thing. Yeah, and
yeah,
Harvard is certainly one. Any Ivy League school, any Big Ten school, and all that. TED Talk, from a professional standpoint, is one of the few things that you can say I participated in it. People get it just as you said, and allows them to stand on top of the shoulders of all those that came before them, so they can reach a little higher.
yeah, yeah, I love that. So when you were thinking of this message, that was mission over fairness, essentially.
That's right.
Um, Tell me how that connects to, what you already give in your book and through working with companies, and maybe share a little bit about the work that you do in your business so that helps us connect the message as well.
Oh, absolutely happy to. So, when you think about mission and fairness in life, and just as I define them, you can define them any way you want, but fairness or values, like what you stand for and all that, a lot of times in life, we really talk deeply about what's fair. We do it with our kids, we do it with our family, right? We do it with our jobs, no matter what it is. And we go, well, you know what? I've got these two things here. I got Cesar and I got Bill. If I give Cesar a bicycle, Bill should get a bicycle, right? If Bill goes to an Ivy League, I got to pay for Cesar to go to an Ivy League. And what we've learned, what I've learned, being fair does not mean being equal. They don't all have to get the same thing. And in fact, if you do things equally, not only will you run out of resources, it'll be totally wasted. Let me give you an example. Do you mind if I do an example?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I happen to know this, but I'm going to ask anyway. Are you married?
I am.
You are married. Do you have any other siblings or relatives? Someone besides your wife? Do you have a brother or sister?
Two sisters.
Two sisters. Okay, this is perfect. So you have a wife and you have a sister. Now we're just going to pick one sister. It doesn't matter who, and it's their birthday. It is their birthday. So for your wife's birthday, what would you say would be a normal and customary thing that you would do for her? Like take her out to dinner?
Yeah, for sure. I buy her something. We go out to dinner. Maybe have some kind of experience. We like to go do something fun. Maybe we go to the main event.
Yeah.
Bowling or arcade or something like that.
Yeah,
Something.
something like that. You probably said something. I believe this to be true. You have children, but maybe you set it up so she doesn't have to deal with the kids that day. Maybe something like
Indeed,
that. Right? You
indeed.
fix her breakfast. I don't know. Right? But you're going to make this a special day so that she knows how important she is to you. Right? Okay.
Indeed.
Now it's your sister's birthday. What do you do for your sister's birthday?
I haven't bought my sister a gift for her birthday in quite some time. I'd say probably more than a decade.
That's right. Now, does she still love you? Does she still claim to be your sister?
She does. She
Okay.
does claim it. She claims it.
Okay. Now let's switch this. Let's say it's your wife's birthday, and it's your sister's birthday, but you give to your sister what you give to your wife. How's your sister going to feel about that?
Uh, that would be odd. It would be
It would
odd.
be odd. Now she would take it, right? She's going to
Yeah.
take the dinner. She's going to like you take her kids. She's like, thank God I've been trying to get rid of these crazy guys. She's going to take it. She's going to be worried about you though, isn't she? She's going to be a
Yes.
little concerned.
Be very strange. What's this
Now you
about?
give your wife what you give your sister on her birthday. How's your wife going to feel about that?
That's not going to go over well, Bill. That's
No, no, you're
no.
probably going to meet the divorce lawyers for sure. You're going to meet the cold shoulder. Okay, so if you think about it, is it fair that your wife gets this so much, right? I mean, a gift, time, a kid, all of this, and your sister really kind of gets ignored. Maybe you send her a text. Is that fair? Is it okay?
No, it's not fair.
No, for sure it's fair, right? No, it's for sure fair, right? Because your wife is your partner in life.
Yeah, you're saying, I see what you're saying, right? So it's like because it's a totally different
It's
relationship,
a totally
right?
different relationship. Is it equal? For sure
No,
not.
definitely not equal.
Right? It's fair. If you gave your wife what you gave your sister, she would be upset, justifiably so. If you give all that time and attention to your sister, she'll take it, but it doesn't get you anything, right? It
Yes,
doesn't
yes.
improve it. She's still going to be your sister either way. She's going to be worried about you. Well, this is what we deal in life is we have similar situations, birthdays of people we care about, but we do not give them equal gifts, and it's perfectly reasonable. Your sister is not mad that she doesn't get the dinner and the special time. She doesn't quit being your sister. Well, this is what we struggle with in life is we have a sister and a wife and we feel we should give them equally. And when you do that, you cannot satisfy anyone because you're going to either undergive to your wife and overgive to this other person, both equal or both very important to you, but you gave what was both fair and equal, and it's a recipe for failure. And
Right.
this is how life works, right? We have to be able to look at the situation and say, what's appropriate for what we're dealing with? What's appropriate? And is that fair for that? Is it fair your wife gets more? 100%. Is it fair that you don't even talk to each other? Of course, right? Now, it might be better. I would suggest you actually text her and say hi, text her a card, right?
Oh,
But
we do
it's
some.
not unreasonable what you don't do it because it's the same thing I do on my sister. I haven't seen her anything for years, but I do try to call her from time to time. I still love her. She still loves me. Relationship doesn't change for all the obvious reasons. In life, you have to pick what your most important things you have. You have to pick what is that spouse level, that thing that I must achieve, and you must throw everything you've got at it. And that means there's not enough resources to go to other things that are important, but they're just not going to get it. And that is perfectly fair. That
Yeah.
is perfectly fair that you don't give it to your wife or your sister. It's perfectly fair. That's how in life you go achieve things. That's how in life you get ahead of things because only so many times, only so much money, only so much effort you can do. Put it to where you're going to achieve what's important to you and your family. It gives you your best shot.
Right. Yeah, I was really struck by the message, and really sticking to what your mission is, as you say in your TEDx talk, right? So, there's a difference also between the things that you value and the mission of your business, right?
That's
So,
right.
for example, when we look at, speaking, um, if you are in the position where you're speaking about a particular topic, um, let's say it's about advocating for neurodiversity, right? And that
Mhm.
in your goal, your mission is to really go and have impact and for maybe college campuses to change or workplaces to change, right? But you may have a value about, I don't know, a certain way to do business, for example, right? Talk to us about when we start looking at our speaking businesses, how mission can start to change the way that we think about running that business. Or even if we're just entrepreneurs, maybe speaking is something we're doing on the side. Most folks that are listening to this are going to be in the entrepreneur space. Help us put that at the forefront and show us how that changes our business.
Absolutely. So that's such a great example talking about neurodiversity or anything like that. Is so your mission in life, and you would have to define it yourself because there's a lot of different ways you could go to achieve that. It could be, I want to be the foremost expert. I want to have an impact in a different way. Maybe I have a family member that has an issue going. I want to help that. So whatever it is, that becomes the mission. That becomes the mission of what you're going to go do, and you're going to target things that will allow you to promote that in its most powerful way as you define it. Now, your value should be like, I want to give back. I want to make the community better. I want to do all these other things. But at the end of the day, when you're sitting here and you're trying to decide, I want to move this neurodivergent mission I have forward, sometimes some of those other things of where you're donating time, you're donating resources, you may have to pull back on that. Because if you take your limited time and resources and you're putting it around just the piece that is just make me feel good, you may not have the time to get on that plane, travel across the country, be at that right speech, that right seminar. So, because if you can get in front of the right group who can dedicate to your cause, contribute to your cause, whatever it is that can make your cause bigger, that is going to have more impact than it is simply going to do that one event that you have here. Maybe it's just meeting someone in a situation where they need to be met. There's going to be a trade-off. So you have to decide, and it's up to you. Some days it's more important to go see that one individual versus getting in front of 30,000. But if your mission is to bring this to the masses, you're going to have to make sacrifices to get in front of that 30,000. Now, what does that take? Maybe that takes getting better at speaking. Maybe that's getting a TED Talk. Maybe you got to write a book. If you're going to do that, that means late nights, weekends, practicing, hiring Cesar, so he's the best, right? You got to do the things that get you in front of that 30,000. And sometimes it means you don't get to show up on that one-on-one event. That's going to make you feel bad. It's not going to be equal, but it's going to be fair because you now are helping thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. And that's your mission. Now, that's not everyone's mission, but if it is, that's the sacrifices you're going to be making.
Yeah. I know you work with, your company works with massive businesses, right? They're doing hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, let's say. When you speak to the entrepreneur that is either like a solo entrepreneur or has a small team, what do you think is transferable about the work that you do when you go in and you help companies really transform that might be struggling and need to turn around and create more profit again? What are the transferable pieces from that work to someone who runs a business like me, for example?
Yeah, it's a great, great question. It's the things that get you, from there to there, the same, it's all really the same. It's funny, when you're a solopreneur, you're doing the thing that makes it passion. Using your earlier example, you're able to go show up on the single event as well as the tens of thousand events. It's just getting there is hard. It all also falls upon you, right? And when
Right.
you're out giving a speech, that means you're not home writing the speech. And when you're writing the speech, you're not finding the customer. And so when you're out teaching and all that, so your time becomes more valuable. You and I've talked about this with your business, right? You have different levels of clients. You have some people come in, they're do-it-yourselfers. You'll point them at where they need to go, they go get there. And then you have other ones that come in, they want a little bit of help. And then you have to come in where it's completely done for them. So you got a done with you, a done for you, and a do-it-yourself. At the end of the day, if you're going to grow your business, the more you can take and figure out how to take and go where the bigger dollars are so you can invest in a business, the more that you're going to do it. But that means you have to do things differently. So a solopreneur, which is what exactly, like if you look at my business, your business, this is where we all start at. You now are having, if you're going to take that next step up. So for the first million, we're just going to make, it's different in everyone, but for the first million, you can do it all by yourself. You can have great technology like Zoom and Circle Communities where you've got it. They kind of do it. So you getting it in there, spending those late hours. From that next million, and that's the hardest piece to get, by the way, that first piece, because you got to get people to buy Cesar. You got to get people to buy Bill. From 2 to 3, that 2 to 5, it's all about process. You're going to have to take all the things you do and document it. The things that are lower value, you're still going to hold on to the X factor, the super thing, that coaching, that individual, but how you onboard them. Like I think you have a couple people that help write speeches. I think you have a couple people who help people follow their thing. You then have to take and do it. But how did they do it to begin? They didn't know how. You probably had to say, this is what we do. This is what you have to take and teach them. Now, you can teach that one person just by spending time. But if you'll document that, if you'll tape yourself doing it, if you'll create a standard operating procedure, forevermore you bring someone on, you don't need 6 weeks to onboard them. Maybe you're only onboarding them in 2 weeks, right?
Mm.
So it's creating processes and procedures so you can get yourself out of the grunge of it, right? That daily grind, so you can work on the business, not just in the business. That's where the solopreneur struggles, right? How do I
Right.
find the time to go do it? The easiest way to do it is you stop doing the business that pays very little. Yeah, and that's simple. Look at the math. Spend more time on the ones that can pay the bills, and then take those resources and create your processes. So that gets you to about 5 million. Now from 5 to 10, you got to be hiring people. Some of those at the beginning are going to be independent 1099s, as we like to say, right?
Hmm.
Some of those, maybe your assistant or something like that's going to work for you, or the person that you're going to have a key partner. Maybe you move out to virtual assistants if you're familiar with those things, right? Where you're looking at people around the world to go do it. But all of those people are going to rely on one thing for you, and that is the processes you've already documented. So now you've got someone doing the daily drudge, you've got your processes, and you can spend the time doing the things that built to begin, which is generally selling and taking care of your key customers. That first 10 million is the hardest journey to get through, because you have to create it and you have to find to do it. Now that's where a mission comes in. If you're not committed to that and you're not going to work those nights and weekends, you're not going to get that done. Stick right to the million. Otherwise, you will churn through people like crazy.
And when you say and that's all brilliant, and I think that's I agree with all of that. When you say the first million, the first five, then the 10, are you saying total or are you saying an annual revenue?
Annual revenue.
Yeah.
Annual revenue. If you're $1 million guy, forget what it is. So consulting businesses generally have a higher profit margin. Product businesses have a lower one. So there's certain things you're going to look at. But regardless, if you're making a product and you're selling it, your cost of goods is somewhere going to be 50%, more or less, right? Because your COGS, maybe it's 20, 30% for material. You got the stuff to go in to build it. If you're really good, it's at 40. I mean, it's extraordinary. If you're normal, it's 50 or less. A lot of times it's 70%. At 50%, just to get the product, that only leaves half. That's $500,000 for all the stuff it takes to go sell it. And then if you look at the end of your day and you're going, well, geez, what am I really putting in my pocket? A lot of these things will be 10%, maybe 20 if you're really efficient, maybe 5 or less if you're not so efficient. You're running as a lifestyle business. So 10% on $1 million business is 100 grand, and you still got to pay self-employment and everything else. Uncle Sam's going to get theirs. You're going to be putting in about 50 to 60 grand. That is not a lot of cash.
Right.
So how do you get above it? You either have to say, I'm not doing it and I'm going to stay in this and I'm going to sell my time, which will take you from a 50% margin to a 60 or 70, which gives you more cash to go. Or you're going to have to figure out how to suck it up and work with others and get these things created. So, because that next 2 to 3 million, you actually won't make much more money if you're going to build this business, because you're going to have to invest it in getting your standard work created. Otherwise,
Uh,
you'll work yourself to death. You know what happens? You go from 1 million to 3, 2 years later, you're back to 1 million and you're exhausted.
right. I'm really curious how you, with all, all the knowledge and skills that you have in as an entrepreneur, when you started creating the speaking side of things for yourself, and you're in the midst of doing that. Did you primarily look at it as a tool to bring in more folks to the primary business, or were you looking at it as an additional branch of business?
It was an additional branch of business.
Okay.
So I had had some success in running companies, and certain things come with that. Like if you have a real track record, one of the challenges, particularly younger generation today, is they really want to be an influencer, and they're really good at being an influencer. They just don't have a foundation of whatever they're influencing off of. Right.
Mm,
So it's like, so they can do things. And so what you see them doing to me, and this is wonderful, there's no criticism in it, but you'll see people on there and they'll talk about technology and they'll talk about, it's really almost a service platform, right? So what I had, because I'm old, I mean, you don't get this looking this way by being young, is I had a career of building businesses. And, what that means is I failed a lot. And when you fail a lot, you learn a lot. What you need is persistence. Get yourself back. You don't really fail. It's just a learning opportunity. You just keep doing it. Thomas Edison, who had no education at all, had 10,000 failed experiences before he invented the light bulb. It seemed to have worked out okay for him, though. So so those 10,000s, were they failures or is it just getting to it? So that's kind of how you get. And so being an influencer is way easier, or being an expert, if you've actually had something to do
Right.
about it. But it's not the only thing. And so this will show how old I am. And Caesar, you're way younger, so you might remember. Do you remember Paris Hilton and what was the other? They had that TV show.
Yeah, of course. Paris and oh, what was her name? Is it Nikki or Rick?
Yeah, Nicole or something like
Nicole.
that.
Yeah.
Anyway, they were famous for being famous. So is the
Right.
Kardashians. So apparently you can be super rich. The Kardashians are all billionaires now for being famous. I don't have that gift, right? So that is a skill, and they have shown that. But that path has gotten harder today. So having something you can talk about that is deep knowledge that you can do. It doesn't mean you've had to work 30 years or anything like that, but you need to be something where you can bring value instantly to the person, right?
Right.
And you need to be able to define what that is. So, like Caesar, you have it's extraordinary because you've done the same thing. You built this, but your niche, and I should just, well, you tell me what your niche is instead of me telling you what it is.
I would say I'm a communication coach, and the niche is it began with TEDx talks, and it's expanded since then.
But who do
But
you really sell to? Who's your customer?
oh, I see what you're asking. Yeah, early entrepreneurs,
Yep. Who else?
speakers.
Yeah. My bet is you sell to someone who's got something that giving them they believe without anything you do that getting on TED makes them seem more of an expert. It elevates their credibility. And those are going to be people who have got things like new books coming out, people who have had a success at something and they've kind of run in the trenches. This uplifts them because of the credibility. So you are looking for people who A, have something to prove and have recently done something that they want to talk about. And a lot of times there'll be early entrepreneurs. I've launched this business. I'm going now into a coach and I want to be able to seen as an expert in that. And I've got a book or I've got a pamphlet or I got a website, I got a process. This is my way of doing it and getting it out there. So that is a really well-defined niche,
Right.
really well-defined. You can make hay all day with that because if you can figure out what they want, since you know who they are, you can work backwards and you can set your pricing, you can set how you interact with them, and you can figure out what all your back end sales are because selling them the idea of getting on a stage is just one state part of that. But what do you do with that? Because most of them, this is going to be their real first public speaking piece on a floor that is not someone they already knew.
Right. That's exactly right. Um, so when you, so I want to jump back just quickly to the speaking business part of this because I'm very curious how you're building it. When you say it was a new branch of business, so you're looking at speaking itself as being paid to speak
That's
as a
right.
source of revenue, right?
That's right.
So when you look at it from that way, because I think there's two paths, right? There is
Oh,
really, I'm speaking is marketing, right? And if that's the case, then I don't need to actually get paid to speak. Sometimes I pay to speak. And you can do both. I'm not saying it's like they're totally separate. But when you launched into this mindset of this is going to be a source of revenue for me, what to you are the essential pieces that you need to see to see that you are out there worth a certain amount, and how are you identifying where you speak and that they're willing to pay what you're asking? Walk me through that.
well, the way first thing you do is you do a lot of speaking for free. you need to you need to get a portfolio built up and you need to hone it. And
Right.
then you need to have your story and all these other types of things. So there needs to be some reason someone's going to come pay you and do it. So like I've got a meeting I'm going to next week or so. I don't know who our speaker will be, but every year we have someone like Magic Johnson or some famous athlete, and they pay a whole bunch of money, right? They come to It's
Right.
wonderful. So when you're going to become a paid speaker, right, you need to have something that people are going to pay you for, and typically, it's around you've achieved something, right? So otherwise, your free speaking, which is just as powerful, it's just as good, is really about you building the brand of yourself, which then you are doing back of the room sales. Like, I have a course I want to sell. I have this process I'll come do. I have something else, and what I'm doing is by getting here and doing this, people will want to hire me to what my real day job is, right? So in order to become a paid speaker, there has to be something that people will identify. I overcome adversity. I built these companies. I did this, and you're going to learn from it. So if you don't have that, like you can argue, I don't know people, Tony Robbins, is he really a paid speaker, or is he really speaking for free to sell all his other stuff? I would tell you, and he's really speaking, I think his businesses do over 6 billion a year. Right.
Yeah,
And
it's
you do
wild.
pay something for him to show up. But what they're really selling is those coaching courses, those books, those, all on and on and on. The majority of people out there, what they're using it for is a way to sell whatever it was that got them on to TED Speak. I want to promote my book. I want to promote my ability. What I started out with was I ran a bunch of companies and some big, middle market size companies with some pretty good stories around it. And I wanted to really, when I look at my next transition in life, I want to do board work, right? And so by having a body of work where I am seen as an expert,
Mm.
books, boards, things I've done like that, it just adds to my credibility, because ultimately what I want to do use that to as my final career goes. It's not, I hope I'm not dying right yet, but you know what I mean? Like, you start out, you're this, and then you're here. Well, I'm in my 50s now, and things have
Yeah.
been grabbing just fantastic. I think I don't want to keep working like this forever. I like doing board work. This will help me. So that was the beginning of what started it.
Oh,
Now that I've got into it and I've got some traction, people will actually pay me to come do it, which was
right.
a little surprising to me,
Yeah.
that they would actually do that. So,
Well,
but
that's
I'll
great.
send you a bill. You'll figure out exactly how it feels. It'll be very,
But you also started with that intention, right? And so you went through and you said, okay, I'm going to build the credibility. In a way, you already had it, but you also said, I'm going to write this book, multiple books. I'm going to
that's
do a
right.
TEDx talk. So you created the framework of who gets paid to speak.
That's exactly
Um,
right. I did it intentionally at the beginning, thinking I would have three sources of revenue as I finish my running career of CEOs. And I'm nowhere near being done, because you don't do this overnight, right? This takes, in some cases, years. So I would have setting on boards, I would have keynote speaking, right? And then I would have coaching.
mhm.
And those would be the three things that I do. And as I've gotten into it, I have found most people make most of their money who are doing this on the keynote speaking.
Interesting.
Yep, by far, that's where, because at your peak, when you're someone like me, and I am not at my peak yet, but as I've grown on all that, what do you think a keynote speaker typically will make? Not famous. So we're not talking some president or Michael Jackson or is a terrible Michael Jordan. But you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you
Yeah.
think CEO who's had successful career, and by the way, you can be a boring speaker, you still get paid, but if you have a good story and things like that, it pays a little more. What would you charge?
Well, I would at the peak, so let's say the entry level for corporate speaking is 10K, right?
Yeah.
Then 25K, you probably still don't know them, but they've done some stuff, right? Then 50 to 100K, I would say is probably, peak for what you're talking about.
Yeah, most are right around 50, right?
Yeah,
To do 100, I think you have to be a front page of the Wall Street Journal CEO, right? You got to be someone that people who
right.
will know who you are. You've been on Fox and CNBC and MSNBC. In other words, like you're like 100 grand would be I can't think of his name. His name's Kevin, but Mr.
Kevin
Wonderful.
O'Leary?
Kevin,
Yeah.
Mr. Wonderful, right?
Yeah, Mr.
He
Wonderful. Yeah.
charges like 125 grand, right, to
Yeah.
come out and speak, right?
Well, and he's more than he's a public figure, right?
But
He's
that's how you
a
get over 100,
TV show. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so if you're a president of the United States and you're and that sort of thing, you're in the half a million, 200, whatever, a nationally known figure, you know, you're 100 plus. If you are a great story and you've got some things behind you, you're about 50-ish. You can
yeah,
ask for more. Basically, you can get more or less. It just means you'll get fewer, right?
right.
And then if you're a good speaker with a really good story, and things like that, you know, you're going to be around 25,000, and it just goes down from there.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So that's kind of the range. So what I'm aiming for is that $50,000 piece.
yeah. And that's nice. That's good work. That's going to pay
Yeah.
more
So
than the
like my
board, right?
buddies who do this sort of thing and everything, they will do, if they get it going enough, will do 30 to 40 speeches a year
Yeah,
at 50 grand a pop. You're like, whoo, that's not bad money. Sign
right.
me up.
And that's a pretty busy schedule, truthfully, like
It's very
for a
busy.
speaker.
You're
That's a lot
speaking
of
once a
travel.
week.
Yeah, that's a lot of travel, and you might decide that that's too much, right? But you're
It's not
exactly
where
right.
I'd want to be.
Yeah.
Not
What's
where I'd
ideal
be.
for you?
You know, if you think about it just from a couple of months, wouldn't that be great? Right.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
so then that puts you around 15 to 20,
Yeah.
a year is what you'd be looking at. So
So I think I mean, that's really great advice to say first, like, what is it that you're shooting for? Build it, create that credibility to be a paid speaker, and then keep leveling up from there so that you know what the end goal and destination is. I think a lot of times folks who are viewing speaking at and really start off with the mindset of, wow, it would be great to be a full-time speaker. And they kind of that's where they stop, right? Like if it could pay my bills. But I think it's a much better vision to create what is that ideal and then work your
then
way
work
back
backwards.
from there. Yeah. I also think that even if that's the ideal, or as you say, you got to start off, speaking for free. My thing is that every time you speak, it should lead to either another speaking gig or clients. And if that's not happening, there's something wrong with the speaking. And it's a good litmus test to say, like, even if it's for free, you should be able to convert. And that's how you know if it's the speaking or if it's kind of the business side of things that may not be working. Would you agree with that?
I do, but that's a high bar to set at the beginning, right? At the beginning, you start out, you do some podcasts, you have something, right? And then you start writing articles. Like I've had articles in Harvard, HBR, Wall Street Journal, I've had articles in all those things. No one cares, by the way, but it's fun to
That's
say.
true.
But you would say, well, I did these things. I've been on some news shows and all that, and that creates a little bit of stuff, right?
Right.
And so then you say, all right, and somebody, somewhere, you need a website. And on your website, you say, well, these are the things I do. And they come in, there's a contact form. They say, all right, what's your charge? And so the best thing you can have is a book at that point. You say, look, I'm going to be for free, but you got to buy 500 copies of my book that you're going to give to the audience. I'll sign them all, and you pay my transportation costs. You my cost to go.
Yeah, I love that. That's a
Right.
great model.
And that you can do. Maybe it's 200 copies, whatever, right? It depends on what it is. And if you self-publish, that's going to be a little more lucrative. If you did something, through something else, it'll vary on whatever your deal is. So that's a really good way to. That's a reason you do a TED talk and you write a book and things like that for it. And then you have all these other stuff. You go like, look, I'll sign the book at the end, and then if you're in front of an influencer group and use different, like you're in a trade association. Everyone knows in there is little business owners, and you can do a deal for them, right?
Well, and I think I want to comment too on why the book deal is so genius, right? Because, well, first of all, it is compensation, right? They are
Yep.
paying you. The book itself is a lead magnet that takes them somewhere. And it should also provide an opportunity to have a face-to-face interaction with everybody in that room.
100%.
So,
You set your table up, you sit down, and hey, how you
right,
doing? Blah blah. What's your name and what do you do? And
exactly.
then if
And
you
now you
get
create a
an
connection.
email list, you now can put them in your list, and now you're marketing to them.
Right,
You got to
bingo.
have that set up. It's not hard, but it takes some effort. That goes back to what I said. What's your mission? If you're going to be doing that and you're a solopreneur, say goodbye to Saturday. Saturday's going to be setting up your email list, and you probably don't know how to use Kid or what's the not the monkey one, the chip. Anyway, the one that's owned by Intuit, right? So Mailchimp,
Oh,
right?
MailChimp,
Yeah.
MailChimp,
So
yeah.
there's 100 of these things, HubSpot and all that, and you'll start out with something, and you'll go, and then you have to upgrade. It just sucks time out of you. So
Yes.
that's okay though. Your amount of stamina, your resilience to fail and pop back up is going to decide how far you get in this. There's no shortcuts. There's no easy. That overnight success took that guy 20 years to get there, right? There's always the lucky one. Forget about them. We're not lucky. We're hard workers. We get up, we learn, we pivot, we go to the next step.
Exactly. All right, I got to get to this question too because I think, it gets to the heart of your book. When inevitably, as an entrepreneur, you're gonna hit some dips. You're gonna hit some times where it's like, whoa, what just happened, right? So, generally speaking, when you start to see businesses start to lose profitability and they might start to panic, right? What walk us through if as solopreneurs or small business owners, when we hit those tough times, what do you see most often is the mistakes that are made, maybe to make the problem worse instead of correcting it?
Boy, that's a great, great question. And I see it all the time with the Institute. We work with a lot of sub $10 million business, sub $1 million businesses. And it's just very different a problem that you're having. Cash flow is king. So you can be profitable or not, but you got to have cash coming in. So in your time, while it's not free, you can give of it freely. So as long as you have cash coming in and everything, you can keep the doors open. But what typically happens is one failure to recognize you have a problem, right? That's going to go away. Sometimes it will just by luck, but failure to recognize that. And the second one is the willingness to deal with that. And there's so much that goes into it, right? There's fear, there's shame. Oh my God, can I possibly tell my spouse that I'm having this problem and maybe we shouldn't go to fill in the blank? It could be the Hawaii, it could be the lake, I don't know, to the grocery store, depending on where you are. But it's dealing with the reality that it is and doing it with speed. And at this point, it's not so much about is being right or wrong. It's about quickly understanding what's going on, getting yourself into a business. Stop the piece that's killing you. Understand what's happening. If you got a big customer, this is the problem if you have real high customer concentration. Let's say you're doing $1 million a month, but it's one customer. That customer cuts you
Yeah.
off and your bills are tied to that. Whew, I hope you saved well, right? But if you're dealing with 100,000 a month and it's 1,000 customers, well, it's a little different, but you need different processes, right? So recognize where you are, be an agile learner, and recognize we all get knocked down. That's going to happen. It's those who get back up that make the difference. Understand what it is, and the key more than anything else is having a good partner. You need someone who's going to be there with you through thick and thin that you can talk to. They may not like it, they may not, but they're there for you. It's hard to know until you do it, but marry well. And I think that's been more to my success than anything else, right? So, or she tells me that, so I believe her. So, plus, she scares me a little bit. So we've been married 33 years. So and why she puts up with me, I don't know. But you've got to put in the work. You got to be resilient. You are going to fail. That's when most of the learning happens, and that's
Mhm.
okay. Use that, get back up, brush yourself off, and go. And try not to bet the farm every time. Like if every time you stumble, you're going to lose your house, bad deal. Go get a job.
I think that's great advice. That's amazing, Bill. You've got an incredible ability to just kind of cut to the chase, and you're really like I always feel calmer about business after chatting with you. You know what I mean? Like you make me feel like nothing is the end of the world, right?
No, we're gonna be
Uh,
all right, right? That's just because I failed so many times, Caesar. I mean, you fell enough and you get back up, you're like, well, survive that, you know. What
right,
doesn't kill us makes at least a good story. So yeah, you'll be fine and you'll work it out. But have those around you can depend on. Build a network. You know, most of us work out of our bedrooms and our side baths, and we got some. You got something about you that was special. You believe it, otherwise you wouldn't do it. You got some skill, no matter, and you believe with all your heart. All right, now go figure out how to monetize that thing.
right.
Understand who your market is. You clearly understand who your market is. Now, how do you reach them? Where do they hang out? Are they on LinkedIn? Today, we can get people like we never could before. When I was a kid, you had to go knock on doors, right? Today, we got digital marketing. We can be on, any social media platform. You can reach people for pennies compared to what it used to be, and you can reach a mass audience. Well, how do you get that in? How do you get that in? Does it come to you? How do you deal with that? This is what you have to go figure out, and there's no substitute for time. You need three people. You need a visionary. I know where I'm going with this. That's you. That's the person who came up with it. You need operators around you. When you're seeing a solopreneur, that means you're going to get help everything from your spouse to your neighbor to independent contractors. And you could buy it by the drink, right? You don't have to hire someone full time. You pay them and they'll help you. And then the final one is you need some coach. You need some prophet, some people who can see where they're going. So when I want to get a TED talk, I went to the best in the business. I hired you and I said, help me get on a TED talk. What happened, Caesar?
You nailed it. You
I got
crushed
on a
it.
TED talk. So if you're trying to build something, you got to put the energy, the effort, and the time. You're going to have people to help carry the water for you, but you're going to need an expert to get you through it because you'll go faster. Sure, it'll cost you money, but it'll be a lot cheaper and faster than figuring it out on your own.
Yep. Again, great advice. Last question for you today, Bill. I want to do the flip of that question. So for me, my business has been growing um, year over year about 5 to 10%. And I'm at a point, and this, is I hope applies to other folks too, where you have to decide, um, do do I want to grow me, or do I have to am I okay just turning down business, right? Meaning, does the structure of my current business need to now change to grow? And is that what I want? There are benefits of growth, right? There are also downsides of restructuring and changing the business to accommodate, um, the demand. And so the question I have for you is, when do you know is the time to sort of say, all right, the business needs this. I'm ready, let's do it. Or to say, no, it's better to be maybe even turning down business, but to maintain what you have.
That is the age old question and really the heart of it. And it starts with you. You got to start with the end in mind. What do you really want to do? Do you want to someday grow this business and sell it? Do you want to someday have a business you can pass to your family? Are you just looking for a lifestyle business? You have to answer that question honestly and thoughtfully. And sometimes it's inside of you. Sometimes you need to talk to your spouse or your partner, whoever your trusted advisor is. Once you know what you want, because no matter what you pick, there's going to be trade-off. Once you know what that mission is, fairness is going to come in. You're going to start making decisions of where the resources go, and that's going to sting a little bit. But now you know you work backwards. And if you got a wonderful business today, but you can't sell that business because you had to sell yourself. If you want to sell your business, you're going to have to build an infrastructure that is a business that goes beyond you and has a team of people. And at a minimum, you're going to have to get this thing, something in the 8 or 9 figures, right? For sure, 8 figures. You got to get it over 10 million because it's got to support staff, right? And the advertising and all this kind of stuff. Know that what you have right now will get worse before it gets better when you do it. You make less money, you have less time at home, you're going to be more stressed, and that's going to last a little while, right? So know that going in. If that is still worth it, the pain of that will be worth the glory of it. If you decide it's not, it's a lifestyle business. It's wonderful. I like this. I want to spend time with my kids and all that. Then the pain of not having a business that throws off 10 or 15 million dollars, you won't have that, but you will have the time. There
Mm,
is no right or wrong answer except what you decide it is, and you're going to have to pay the price to do it.
right.
Starts with you.
Amen. Bill, brilliant as always, my friend. I just can't thank you enough for spending some time with me today and dropping some knowledge on our entire community. And so just want to say thank you. Folks, if you haven't seen Bill's TEDx talk yet, go and watch it immediately. He did it at TEDx Greenhouse. And the title of it, is it From Mission to Fairness? Remind me.
Mission over values is what we
Mission over values. It's got over 200,000 views. Go and watch it immediately, and it's only like 7 or 8 minutes. You're in, you're out, you're transformed. Also, grab Bill's book From Panic to Profit. It'll change your mindset about your business 100%. And Bill, is there any other way if folks want to reach out to you, how they can contact you?
Easiest way to go to my website, it's my name, billcanady.com, or you can do the 80/20 websites, which I point to there. Both of those, that's the consulting business. The other one's my personal one for, for the speaking and things like that. Reach out. Happy to chat with you anytime. I really appreciate you having me on today, Cesar. As always, it was amazing. I learned so much being out with you. It just inspires me to no end. So thank you.
Well, it's not over because we get to work on your moves a little bit, you know? We get to see if you can up your coordination. Here we go. Come on. Yeah. Little of this, little of that. I think that was 20% better, Bill.
At a minimum, 20% better. It's hard to fall out of a basement. So just doing it the second time made me better. So,
Hey, enjoy your weekend, brother. Thanks again.
all right. Good
See
to
you, man.
see you. Thanks for having
Bye.
me. Cheers.